There is no doubt that short-term rentals around the world are getting some serious heat these days. And it's because us hosts keep making these same mistakes again and again, and guests just hate them. And so in this video, I'm going to give you 11 of those biggest mistakes, those biggest things that just really annoy guests, and also how to fix them. And if you're doing any of these, you need to stop it. Stop it right now, because you're ruining it for us all. So this first mistake is when hosts are trying to almost catfish guests and trick them to come and stay in their properties. And there are multiple ways that hosts do this. You better not do any of these. I'm talking misleading photos, so like AI-ifying your photos, using filters to make the place look bigger or nicer than it actually is, taking photos but not showing a weird, awkward thing that is on the property or in the property, but just not showing it in a photo. It's just deceitful, it's deceptive. You're trying to trick the guest, you're trying to hide this thing.
Lying is bad.
But you know what? It doesn't work, because when you go on your first date, when someone swipes right on Tinder with your catfished fake photo, and then they actually arrive on the date, they're like, oh, right, okay, that's what you actually look like. And the same thing happens when the guest books your place and then arrives. They see your big, weird, scary thing that's in the back garden, or they see whatever it is that you've been trying to hide. Like, they're gonna come to the apartment. Another way that us hosts can try and catfish guests to come and stay with us is by just continuing to mislead them in our listings. And that can come from things like as small as overestimating the size of your bed. So if you have a double bed, or a queen I think it's called, don't call it a king in your listing, because people book properties to use a king bed and they know if it's not a king bed. Another one that frustrates me and I think annoys a lot of guests is the overuse of the word luxury. Look, we all like to think that our place is lovely and nice and great, but is it really luxury? Is it really? Luxury is a 5-star hotel. Like, nothing luxury costs less than like $300 a night. I don't like when people use that phrase unless you're like a 5-star hotel. And it again comes back to bite you, because if you get guests coming like Warren Buffett or Bill Gates, they're searching Airbnb and they say, oh look, a luxury apartment or a luxury whatever, and they know what luxury is. They experience luxury on a daily basis and they come and stay in your place. If it's not to the same standard as what they truly know luxury is, you're gonna get marked down in reviews. And whilst I use those as mad examples of like the upper echelons of society, there are lots of people in between that who still think about luxury and go and stay in these luxury hotels. So if you're not offering true luxury, don't put it in your title or anywhere in your description. You can call it high end, you can call it, well, in fact, don't call it anything to do with that. Click the link below. I've got a listing bot. It's AI. What you do is you give it your current title, your current description, all of your reviews, you put it in, and it regenerates it the way it should be, based on what people have actually said in the reviews. It doesn't have things like luxury, doesn't use words and phrases like the best or the closest, because they are misleading, because they're open to interpretation, and because if you call your place luxury and it's not, you're gonna get marked down in reviews. The next mistake is hosts who bring properties to the Airbnb platform, to the market, and the property itself might be lovely, but the location and the area is not good, unpleasant, dangerous, just bad. And now, why do hosts do this? Well, they do it because those properties are cheap, and they know that, well, if I save money on the price of the property because it's cheap, because it's in a nasty, dangerous hellhole of an area, well, I can spend more on the inside, and sure, that's what the guest experience. That's what they're getting, is the inside of the property. But it doesn't work like that. The guests might spend only like a third of the time that on their trip in the actual property. They might be here for something else. You know, they might just need it to put their head down and sleep at night, and they're out and about exploring and doing whatever they want to do. Inside of your property is only a small part of their experience. They go out into the big bad world, and if it is a big bad world, like, they're gonna have a big bad experience, and that's coming down the track to you in reviews. So again, it's a false economy. It doesn't make sense because there's nowhere to hide. The guests might see your lovely property on the inside, like, wow, this place is so cheap. I can't understand why it's so cheap. Look at it. But then when they arrive, if they experience any sort of unpleasantness in the area or feel unsafe, it's gonna get marked in a review. And so how do you know if an area is unpleasant or unsafe? Now, I'm not talking about people getting murdered. I don't even know if I can say that on YouTube. I'm not talking about that. That's extreme. Of course, no one is ever gonna, you're not ever gonna put a property there where someone could get murdered, are you? I'm talking more subtle, more, are there intimidating groups of young men that hang around outside? Is there a chance that any of your guests at any time could experience any form of discrimination, racism, anything like that, hurtful comments, stares, name calling? If that is anywhere possible that it's going to happen, it's not the right location. Now, this wasn't going to happen for everyone. This is generally talking about city areas, city stays, inner city, things like that. You know, I guess there's other ones where you could say, like, if you're going to do a tree house, make sure it's safe, not a massive tree you're going to fall out of, or an Airbnb on the side of a cliff that someone's going to fall. That's not really what I mean. I mean, maybe someone would be stupid enough to do that. I'm mainly talking about inner city, in towns. People travel from all over the world, different races, sexualities, ages, all these things, and you do not want your guests to experience any discrimination whilst they're staying in your property, because you get hit with a review. Next up, number 3 is one of the worst first impressions that guests can have when they arrive at your property. If they arrive ready to get started on their trip, they open up the Airbnb app, you've sent them a list of how to check in, and it just goes on and on and on. It's like a treasure map. It's like, take 5 steps forward, turn immediately east, walk 3 steps that way.
Okay, the key to the place is in a lockbox that's virtually impossible to reach. Are you ready for the instructions?
Okay.
When you approach the building, there'll be a hedge to your right.
Yeah.
Okay, I need you to climb over the hedge and then scale the wall.
Scale the wall?
If it's like, if they have to like lift things to look under, if they have to climb over stuff, if they have to like use their brain in any way, it's too complicated. Now, I get that you need to keep your key safe, potentially if you're using one, safe and not breakable from the road, from someone just walking past, but put it somewhere completely obvious. Say something like, the key safe is located opposite the front door, or the key safe is located to the right of the front door. It has to be that simple, where someone arrives, they can just go, and there it is. Best practice is to have smart locks on the doors where you can remotely change the code and you can send that to the guests. So they just walk up, the keypad is there, they just put it in. And the best practice, so the guests don't forget the fucking code, is to have the 4-digit code to be the last 4 digits of their phone number. No one's ever going to forget that. And the good thing about that is, once they've left, you can just change the code straight away and then they can't get back in. Because the problem is, if you leave a key and you don't change the code on the key safe, well then any guest could theoretically come back and just use the key to get back in. Next up, we're talking about when guests enter the property and they feel like they're in a museum because everything they look at has a little sign on it saying how to use it and what it's for. Now, I get why this happens. Hosts, we experience this on a daily basis. We get the same annoying questions from guests. How do you work the TV? How do you work the washing machine? How do you work the microwave? Where's the Wi-Fi? Like, where do I put towels? Is there more toilet roll in places? We get these all the time, so we feel like the best way to counteract that or to stop it happening is just put a helpful sign up. Here's how to work the washing machine. Here's where the towels are kept. Here's where the dishwasher is. Please turn this light off. So it does come from the best intentions, but what it results in is like this weird property of everything is like, it's almost like condescending, like insert the key here. It can go too far very easily. And so how do we get around it? Well, for a start, don't have so much complicated shit in your property. Have everything so that it's completely obvious where stuff is and how it works. Don't have a really complicated microwave, not a really complicated dishwasher, TV, sound system, coffee machine, none of that. Just straightforward, easy to use stuff. Where stuff does need to have instructions, centralize it, put it all together in a guidebook that can either be digital that you send to the guests or physical hard copy that sits in the property, and that has all the troubleshooting. That has all the QR codes that when people scan, it opens a video to show them how to use the complicated thing. Number 5, and this is one that sometimes I feel like I'm in a parallel universe here whenever I talk about this to people, because they're like, oh, what? Oh my God, that shot. What do you mean don't do this? I honestly can't get my head around why this was ever a thing and how it still is a thing. And it's cleaning fees. Now, I can already feel some of you are like, whoop, don't go there with my cleaning fee. But listen, imagine this. We're in the hospitality business. Imagine we went to a restaurant and on the bottom of the bill it said dishwasher fee. You'd be like, what the I'm not paying a dishwasher fee. Imagine you checked out of a hotel and on the way out they said, oh, by the way, your room was this much, but you also have to pay us a cleaning fee. You'd be like, no, that's not how it works. You take it out of your margin, you take it out of the cost that I paid you, you sort out your own costs yourself. It's nothing to do with me. But how is it with Airbnb and us hosts that we all automatically assume that we can charge the guest to clean our own property? We don't put on broadband fee, we don't put on like gas and electric fee. It's mad. Why is the cleaning fee fine to be charged to guests? Like, there's no surprise that this is all over Reddit, all over social media. People hate using Airbnb because us hosts charge a cleaning fee. Well, I don't, but you probably do. You shouldn't. Incorporate it into your fee. Like if your nightly rate is like £100 per night and your cleaning fee is like 50, just make it like add it in to the total cost. Because the other thing about it is, if you are charging a cleaning fee and it's high, and it always is high, because I know you're sneaky hosts, they like to add a wee bit more on there as well. I'd love to see the cleaning fee that is like completely pointed towards the cleaner, and the cleaner has to send the invoice and then the guest pays it. Like I think cleaning fees would reduce a lot on the Airbnb platform, but I digress. But the other thing is, if you're charging the cleaning fee, you then can't ask guests to do any cleaning whatsoever when they leave. You can't ask them to strip the bed, can't ask them to load the dishwasher, can't ask them to take any rubbish out, because that's, what are they paying for? They're paying for you to do it. They paid you the cleaning fee. I'm not cleaning anything. Whereas when you don't charge a cleaning fee, you've got a bit more leeway to say, listen, there's no cleaning fee here, but wouldn't you mind taking the bins out, stripping the bed, load the dishwasher? And those checkout rules brings me on to number 6, which is weird, overly strict, or just too many rules for guests. This is another one that goes viral on TikTok that people complain about in Reddit forums. It's hosts who are they're just too much. Like, I get that guests can be like kids, that if you don't set clear boundaries, they can just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. But there is a limit, and like, you can't punish all guests because of the actions of a couple of really bad ones. There are, of course, reasonable and normal house rules, things like no pets, things like no parties, no drugs, no smoking. Of course, those are to stop the most of the weirdest antisocial behavior, and of course, and often they're against the law and everything. So yes, of course you should have those, but it's other ones, and people do go far, they go down rabbit holes. It's just, they can get too much. Next, number 7, and this mistake is again well-intentioned, but again can just miss the mark and result in a poor experience for guests. And it's bad communication. It's hosts who communicate either way too much and you want to be pen pals and be friends, or just ignore the guest altogether whenever they're asking you questions and you'd like take 5 hours to respond. There's a sweet spot. It's about not annoying your guests, but being available all the time when they need to ask you a question. Remember, the guests are here for their experience. They're not here to make friends with you or to live out some weird fantasy that you have of people in your property. You're just a thing. You're just there to facilitate them getting access to their apartment, their property, so they can go on their trip. Next up is hosts that provide 4 walls and that's it. That's all you're getting from me. You want a dishwasher tablet? Get it yourself. You want some toilet roll? Get it yourself. We're providing an experience. We need to be offering a property that someone can arrive to and experience and live in it as if it was their own. If you offer a toilet, provide toilet paper. If you offer a dishwasher, provide dishwasher tablets. I get that these are expensive, but it's the cost of doing business. And these are the absolute basic minimums of what should be provided. You can of course go further and further and further, providing really full-on welcome packs with all sorts of bits and pieces, and those are going to get positive reviews. But by not even offering the bare minimum of toilet roll and dishwasher tablets and towels, you're going to get slaughtered in reviews. On to number 9 now, and this is a mistake that is absolutely unforgivable for any host, but that happens almost all the time, and it still happens to me as well. It's guests arriving to an unclean apartment. Now, us as hosts, we never want an apartment or a property to be unclean for guests to arrive, but when we're trusting the cleanliness of our properties to cleaners, they can let us down. If you're trusting and outsourcing your housekeeping to an external person or an agency, be absolutely sure that you can trust them and that they have standards in place and that checks are going to be done on the cleaner's work. Because if a guest walks in to an unclean apartment, that is the quickest route to a refund request. It's so frustrating, but it doesn't have to be that way. Get thorough cleaning checklists, trust your cleaners, pay them well, check their work. But look, accidents are always going to happen, stuff will always be missed, and that's about how you respond to it when the guest brings it to your attention. Number 10 is not getting maintenance things fixed urgently. We touched on the cleaners. They should be your eyes and ears. They should be telling you, oh, you know, this paint is flaking off the wall, or this like wallpaper's coming off, or this bed's a bit rickety and it looks like it could break at any point. They're the ones who need to be telling you and keeping you up to speed with what needs fixed or replaced. You don't want to let it get to a stage where something breaks when the guest is using it in-house, or that it's already broken, the cleaner doesn't tell you, and then the next guests arrive and they're like, what the hell, this chair has 2 legs. And the key here is speed is of the essence. Like, if the cleaner tells you something's broken, you sort of got to get that thing fixed or replaced before before the next set of guests come. Doesn't really work if they arrive and they're like, this is broke, and you're like, yeah, no, I know about that. I've got to wait like 3 weeks for the new one to arrive. Like, I don't give a shit. I want this fixed. So make sure you have a team of people, tradespeople who can fix stuff, people who can go to the shop and buy a new chair or whatever that you need to replace, have a van, build the thing, but just keep on top of it. Don't let things slide, or you'll end up in this next territory, which is mistake number 11, and that is just getting embroiled in arguments with guests over refunds or charging them for small damages. Once you get a disappointed guest from poor maintenance in the property, poor cleanliness, bad experience because someone got murdered next door, once you get into that and you get into refund territory, it is the Wild West. Who decides what is an appropriate level of refund or compensation? I've certainly experienced ones where they've stayed the entire time and then checked out and said, we actually had a really bad time, so we want a full refund. Like, we've had ones, it's mad stories. Like, guests just are completely entitled. It's Wild West. There are no proper, accurate guidelines on what is an appropriate level of a refund. If it gets to Airbnb, they're just like, take it all, guest. And you as the host still have to pay Airbnb's fee, but have a full refund, guest. So you don't want to get anywhere near that. And the other thing you don't want to be getting near either is coming after guests, chasing them down, hunting them down like the CIA because they've broken a glass. Mistakes happen. Is it really worth frustrating that guest and getting a poor review because they had an accident and broke a glass that cost 2 monies? Accidents happen, especially if you have kids, and especially if people are here and they're having a few Guinness or a few wines. As long as it's not malicious, just let it go. And how about this instead? Say, look, I understand accidents happen, and that's okay. I'm not going to charge you. But in return, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave me a 5 out of 5 or a 10 out of 10. They're going to respect you that you haven't chased them for a fiver, and they're going to give you a 5-star review. It's a win-win. Now, these have been 11 mistakes, things not to do, but there are lots of things that you should also be doing instead. I've got you at the baseline, and now I can give you something to get you way ahead. So the next thing you need to watch is this video. It's 12 tips to get an unfair advantage over your competitors. I'll see you in the next one.